So I've been unemployed coming up a year in July, and in that time I've been what I've coined house husband maxing. That means I've been doing the chores, keeping my exercise up, looking at cooking dinners as much as I can, um, dropping the kids off to school and all that sort of stuff. Just trying to be the best house husband I can be because of my disability. I'm not too sure if another job's really for me. So I've just been working on being the best house husband I can be, a trophy husband. But I have noticed some negativity, and that's what I want to talk about in today's video. There's been a lot of negativity that I think is only really directed at me as an unemployed house husband Max, because I'm a man. So I'm a man, and I just wanted to speak on that. And yeah, it confuses me a little because our society has been teaching us something different for the last 20-30 years, and yet still we revert to the same old stereotype. Yeah, it's like despite the 30 years of people should be able to be free to do whatever they like, we're still expected to fall into gender norms or else be criticized. And I'll give you an example. Like since I've been unemployed, constantly I've heard that I need to get a job. I have to get a job. What are you doing at home? You need to get a job. You need to help your wife. You need to get a job. And she gets it in the neck as well. Like people are always asking her, hey, is he getting a job yet? Has he been looking for jobs? When's he getting a job? You need to tell him he needs to get a job. But then, you just play it out. Let's imagine the roles were reversed, right? So currently, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was 40. It didn't. I just sort of buried it, and just pretended like I didn't have it. And things got worse. I had a bit of a mental breakdown. Ultimately, I had to quit my job, and now I'm just focusing on my mental health, my physical health, and being the best house husband I can be, as much as I can. I mean, I'm not saying I'll never work again. I'm just saying at the moment, it's not really for me. And people are like, he needs to get a job. But let's imagine the roles were reversed. Let's imagine my wife was diagnosed with a disease similar to MS or MS. She had a bit of a mental breakdown and she had to quit her job. They'd be saying something different, wouldn't they? They'd be saying, hey me, I need to work harder. Maybe I need to get another job. Maybe I should have 2 or 3 jobs. I need to work harder so my wife doesn't have to work, and she wouldn't be getting it in the neck that she has to work. She'd be like, no, you let him work. You need to focus on yourself. So there's a clear contradiction there, I think, on the expectations of people. So despite 30 years of us saying, no, we need to get rid of these gender norms and let people be what they want to be. And a man can be a house husband, a man can be a stay-at-home dad. But ultimately, when a man does choose to be a house husband or a stay-at-home dad, he is criticized. He's criticized and he's told to get a job, or he's not really a man, is he? So it does seem quite hypocritical, really. Here's another example I think that would be worthwhile. Imagine I died, right? Imagine I died. Let's say today I had a horrible accident and just died. What would everyone's reactions be? They'd be, oh, the poor wife. All their sympathy would go towards the wife, and then the kids. And then they'd maybe have a thought about me as well. Oh, the poor guy, he died. But then if we switch it, imagine my wife died. All the sympathy would be like, oh, the poor wife, she died. Oh, the poor kids. And then maybe a bit of a thought for me. And then obviously, oh, he needs to step up now. He needs to work harder because now he's going to have to. It just seems somewhat hypocritical, And I understand it. Like, whenever I see these sort of weird cultural contradictions, I always just look back at, I think in evolutionary biology terms, it's like, it makes sense. Men are more disposable, and men are supposed to like leave the cave and go out and fight saber-toothed tigers and stuff. That's how we evolved. But now in 2026, It doesn't really work. It's a bit weird, especially since we've got this social conditioning that men and women are exactly the same. And I think men and women, don't get me wrong, I'm not a sexist. I think if a woman wants to go out and become a pilot or an astronaut or be a CEO, if she wants to attempt to do that and work hard to do it, she should be free to do it. But at the same time, if a man wants to be a house husband, then why not? Why not? Why am I always the one being told to get a job? Even like, I'm sure there's couples out there who are both working, and there's probably little, and let's say there's a couple where both couples are working, but then they have a friends where the wife is a stay-at-home wife. There'll be little digs. There'll be little digs about the man. Like, why is your wife working? And the stay-at-home mum will have little comments like, you should, she'll talk about all the great things she did during the week. It just seems somewhat hypocritical to me. And that's all I really wanted to talk about today. I didn't really have a long video in mind. But in saying that, I'm not suggesting that men are some way oppressed in the modern world or anything like that. I don't buy into that. I think as individuals, we're always going to have obstacles put in front of us, and it's our job to try get over those obstacles. A lot of people choose not to. They just sit where they are and rot, and they tend to just blame other people for their inability to get around the obstacle. But I think you should try. You should try to get over those obstacles. You should always be trying, and we should be helping people too. Like, if I see someone who's been held back by an obstacle and I can help, for example, then yeah. Like, if I know someone who needs a good reference for a job, I'm always happy to help give good references for jobs, for my old team members and stuff like that, because I want to help people do better. So yeah. Anyway, so I'm not saying men are hugely hugely oppressed people in the modern world, because it's impossible, really. Because once again, if you go back to evolutionary biology, you can't oppress men. A woman can't oppress men without men allowing it, basically. If we go back to evolutionary biology principles, right? Other men have to allow a woman to oppress men, if that were the case. I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just saying. I'm just waffling at the moment anyway. So yeah, that's just something interesting I noticed, that yeah, it does seem to be a double standard here, that if a man does choose to be a house husband or a stay-at-home dad, is quite often looked down upon and criticized, and they have little digs. You need to get a job. You need to get a job. You need to do something. It's like, well, I am doing stuff. Like, I'm doing chores every day. I'm doing the washing. I'm doing the dishes. I'm vacuuming. I'm getting the kids to school. I'm making lunches. I'm preparing dinner. That's another thing, right? A lot of women will say being a housewife or a stay-at-home mum is incredibly hard. There's lots of work to do. It's harder than a job. It's harder than a full-time job. You're just being, but it's harder than a full-time job. But then once a man's a stay-at-home dad, or a house husband, then he's just lazy, and he's not doing enough. He should be out working harder. Well, how does that make sense? How can being a stay-at-home mum be the hardest job in the world, but a stay-at-home dad is just lazy? Man, yeah. And to be fair, I'm going to be honest, and my wife agrees with this 100%. Being a stay-at-home parent is far easier than having a job. Don't let these stay-at-home mums lie to you. It's so much easier. I remember when my wife, she took a year off when my son was born. This would have been over a decade ago. And she said it was the best year of her life. It was so good. She just got to stay at home with the kid and didn't have to go to work, And, I am enjoying being a stay-at-home dad. I love it. I love not having to go to work. I love not having to commute. I get up at like 7:45 in the morning, 8 o'clock every morning. There's no getting up early for me. I'm getting my 8 hours every day. I'll go to bed at 11 o'clock, wake up at 8. It's quarter to 8. It's like a good 9 hours. Good 9 hours. So my sleep's great. I'm able to do my exercise every day. I keep the house clean. I mean, it's never clean enough for the wife, because men and women, they see the world differently. Like, she'll come home and she'll start doing something. I'm like, what are you doing? That's my job for tomorrow. I'm doing that tomorrow after the dishes, before I do, clean the bathroom, I've got it all planned out in my head. And she's like, I can't stand looking at it. I have to do it. I'm like, just put it in the spare room. I'll sort it later, like folding washing or something like that. So, but there is studies and stuff that show that men and women have a different tolerance on mess, right? Clutter. So that's another struggle, like I've got it all planned in my head. I know what I'm doing, but then the wife comes and she sees something that hasn't been done, that she feels must be done because her tolerance is lower for clutter and mess. And then, it makes me feel like I'm not doing a good job. But, she always tells me, it's not you. You are doing a good job. It's just I can't stand looking at it. So, yeah, maybe I just need to identify those things and get them done, prioritize them maybe, and then she could probably get home and relax a bit more. So yeah, that's on me. So yeah, this was just a waffling video. I just wanted to discuss what I see as some contradictions and some weird things. Yeah, on how expectations on men and women are completely different. Even though we're told we're supposed to be equal, we still have the same old patriarchal views on gender norms, on what men and women shouldn't be doing, sort of thing. And I think it's weird. You can't be saying men and women are the same, and men can be house husbands and that, and then also be like look down on men that do become house husbands. It's, yeah, I don't know. What do I know? I'm just an old unemployed cripple. But anyway, this is just a waffling video where I wanted to talk about this. If you liked my thoughts on it, let me know in the comments. If you didn't, let me know in the comments. If you think I'm stupid for these opinions or these thoughts, and maybe I'm, let me know in the comments. Yeah, if you did like it, like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. You've been on YouTube before. You know what to do. Just do it. Or not. I don't really care. But anyway, this is just me spurging my consciousness onto the internet. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.